So I'm sure we can share the space together and find a good solution so that everyone could be happy. And about the movie, tomorrow, 8 p.m., please wear jacket. It might be quite cold in the evening, as you noticed. There will be some snacks as well served by our cafeteria, so you will be able to enjoy the movie and a nice snack. And please, you can also take your cushion after His Holiness will finish the session with us tomorrow. You can take the cushion, you can take a mat with you and reserve a spot for you on the stairs, because most probably all of us will be looking towards the screen from the stairs. So if you would like to enjoy the movie comfortably, please use your cushion and book a place for you in front of the Gompa. Of course, we will have to squeeze as well a little bit, but I'm sure you got used to it by now. So yes, that's everything for now, and His Holiness will be here very soon. I will let you know, hopefully a minute before, but please inform your friends to come inside. Dear friends, His Holiness is coming, so please stand up.
Sanje Judan Soje Jona Lai Chanje Bardoi Dane Jasoi Daje Jensoi Sunanje Jola Benje Sanje Jubrai Joi Sanje Judan Soje Chona Lai Chanje Izoi Jebe Zananje Jola Ben Sanje Jubrai Joi Sanje Judan Soje Chona Lai Chanje Bardoi Dane Jasoi Daje Jensoi Sunam je dola benje zan Drupara joy semje tamje dewa dan deve judan Demba jurje donganam Jurje donga mebe dewa damba da mende wa jurje nyere chada nidan Tanyam Jembola Neva Joroi Je Semje Damje Dewa Dan Deve Dongal Da Donga Je Jodan Java Jor Donga Mebe Dewa Damba Dan Menda Va Jor Je Nyere Chada Nidan Jav Tanyam Jembola Neva Joroi Je Semje Damje Dewa Dan Deve Jodan Tembra Jurje Donga Jodan Dalwa Jurje Donga Mebe Dewa Damba Da Menda Va Nyere Jada Nidan Deve Danya Jembol Neba Joroi Je Saje Bechu Chushe Medo Jam Rera Lenje Ninde Jembad Sanje Shindu Migde Pulwa Je Droge Namda Jing Che Bara Jo Jazala Wadan Che Jing Shaba Dan Je Zo Ye Rang Gui Je Zorwa Ye Jewa Chung Se Da Chipsa Ba Dam Je Zobe Jang Che Rung Oi Jom Den De Jang Be Yang Loi Zhang Zai Loi Kang Ge Le Zhe Zhem Nye Zhen Zha Nye Dai Nam Rab Za Loi Wai Chen Nye Den Gui Che Che Ze Jire Nye Je Dok Lek Ban Ze Gang Da Ze Be Zen Rai Ma Re Men Dam Dong Ai Je Ze Be Zho Zo Gun Puji Darje Yalai Zhugju Yang Den Zon Zhu Darai Che Zhu Nye Mo Nye Long Le Je Zhao Zhu Chong Ze Je Ma Re Men Sel Dong Ai Nyuk Jin Ni Jun Ze Ra Je Nam De Ne Ta Ji Sa Ju Tar Ji Yun Den Le Zo Jia Ze Tu Wei Gu Chu Zha Chu Da Zhong Ni Jian Zhe Da Jambe yang lai de zhen den che je je ra ve zre je da lu de mo men ba rao zan ka da den je zhong lo do ba le zhe bo be na wa za la do zo zem je nam je som ba dan lo ye che ra che da che jon tu mo te ba Cheje gorlo gorodo zolo.
Good afternoon, and also once again good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the viewers. I welcome all of you. Were you able to have some time to read the verses yesterday? A little bit. We are, ever since we are introduced into Buddhism in one way or another, then we hear about the benefit of spending more and more time on the practice, and that how to say, at some point it becomes a matter of choice, it seems, because it's like a buffet that one doesn't know what to do, but they all seem important, and they all and such as well, to most of you, which I'm very happy about, of course, the practice that you engage yourself in, particularly that of the preliminary practices. I mean, we just call it preliminary, but basically it's a clear or pure practice. And then from there it leads, it seems to lead us into various things to do. And particularly then, when we have an orientation of Tibetan Buddhism, then it seems that there is a gradual sort of hierarchy of practices that is introduced by simply stating that this is preliminary practice, and then from there onwards, then we have this as the next step, that as the next step, and so on. And so therefore, sometimes we can have a bit of a confusion, I think, in terms of then how to find time to do all this. Learning and studying the sutras and shastras somehow seem to us as if they are a part of the preliminary practice and not the main practice, you know. And that it's like saying that one must do something really, really serious, like 3 years or 6 or 9 or 12 or life retreat and so on. I'm not demonizing it in any way. It's just one could, maybe it sounds crude if I say it's sort of catered that way, because or if our social status or social structure is in that sense, that we go to kindergarten, then from there the next grade, the next grade, next grade, and then all the way to graduation and so on. So since or if a society has that kind of setup, then for the Dharma to be implemented, it also comes in that form. That's all there is, actually. Yeah. So the preliminary practice or the Four Foundation is really nothing really to do with being a kindergarten practice. And particularly the practice of learning, such as this Bodhisattva Avatara, is also not a minor practice at all in any sense. To us, we think that at the end, the final practice or the main practice is that of the Mahamudra, And so, let's get to that juicy stuff and cut out the middleman and so on. But if you really observe it carefully with a very clear mind, then we will be able to see that actually just reading this text alone, I cannot say is, but is Mahamudra. That would be sort of redundant, but it is as good as, or not to say better, but it is as good as thinking that we have to do, get to the juicy part. That here it lies everything. You see, it's so simple. It talks about human psychology without jumping into anything ritualistic or something colorful. I mean, we think it's colorful, yes? To do Mahamudra is colorful, and to practice that Tantra is colorful, and that it'll give us a sort of within the, if there is a spiritual society, then within that society that it gives a better recognition and so on. So those are the traps. If you simplify the highest of the highest of the highest states or practices, if you simplify it, then it is exactly as it is explained here. Because we say, I want to know who I am, or I want to know what is my origin. Are my confusions solvable? And yes, we do the occasional retreats, we do the occasional main practices, but then we kind of look down on these practices, and so that's a pity. And I'm not just saying this because I'm saying something new. This is something that every individual who has, who appreciates, who understands Buddhism, who understand these noble practices. And so therefore, if you take some time to read this and think about it for a while on a regular basis, then Mahamudra would seem actually very applicable. That it's sort of simplified here, in the form of everyday practice, in the form of understanding one's own mental state or psychology, we can call it. That we don't need to depend on, let's say, in an absolute way, either a particular lifestyle or medicine or pill or a person. That's simply through reading this, and that it will give us at least an understanding, an idea that it's really that simple, and then therefore bring immense inspiration. And then therefore, if one finds the opportunity to practice Mahamudra or enter into retreat or so on and so forth, then we will engage in the most natural way, in the most harmonious way, without thinking that now I'm doing something very sacred, now I'm doing something that has never been done before. So therefore, yes, it is good to. It is good, and it is also advisable to, from every now and then, to, if there are experts who can explain these teachings. And during that time, of course, we must give all our focus, all our attention to learn as much as we can. But then afterwards, the application is, in this case, very, very simple, It can be one of those many news that we read from our gadgets, or novels that we read, self-help books that we read. It's just a matter of replacing them with this, And then we don't alarm ourselves that now I'm doing something very, very tedious or something very sacred. And just by passing that sort of break or extra time or leisure, without thinking that this is for the sake of all sentient beings and so on, without that burden, you just read and read and read. And as I said, it'll just speak to you at some point. And as I said, you can open up to it better than you can open up to the so-called best friend. So that's why I ask. So, I read till the verse 111, I think, yesterday, And in terms of explanation, also here, there, till 111. And so now I will continue to read from 111 till we have reached some verses, and then see how you go. Sorry. 대이치 sem진 신당네 야외 신시 토베송 드당 구제 망보식 드더라 분숨 8월진 신제 남단 야발에 산지 춘rum다발라 잘라 구제 대진도 sem진람에 지이소 삼배윤데 랑금에 드벌레인 된 총벌 된 총벌 sem진 남노 윤대 대체되다 냠바인 장섬들랑 초바가 되는 sem진 제원이 산제 대배소는 대양 산지 제원이 산지 춘룹 자유 디나 대다 냠버는데 디나 대다 냠버는데 윤den견선 타입의 산제 남당 가면요 윤den 초초 직부이 윤den 시점가시라 나나 대란 초된도 감송부양 총원주 산지 춘조 제외시 sem진 남나 예배는 늦잠다기 참된 sem진 choja rikwanju yin yumin ninju jin penpa pamen zinala sem진 gujama doba yengang shike lenlenju kanchi kudon namin ju bolan tela penta lenlenju bina debendo da nuje china yang tamche zangu shikdo chebra cha rishida ke jenjo nichana kanchi rangi kulanga mizik tela momba da ke chidana ngaja chashin tenje ngume cha kanta dewe tunam jejuru shin kanda nunam miji jonjurwan teda gawe tuba kunje shin tela nuje tulan nubachi chidara lula kune membawan doba kunji idara menjowa 대신 semchen noba chinayan tuji jenam jebe tameto. Thus patience arises only in dependence on malicious intention. On that malicious intention. So he alone is a cause of my patience. I should respect him just like the sublime Dharma. The sage has declared that the field of sentient beings is the field of the jnans. Because many have reached the highest fulfillment by honoring them. As the attainment of the Buddha's quality is equally due to sentient beings and to the jnans, how is it that I do not respect sentient beings as do the jnans? As I do the jnans. Their greatness is not in terms of their intention, but in terms of the result itself. The greatness of sentient being is comparable to that, so they are equal. A friendly disposition which is honorable, is the very greatness of sentient beings. The merit due to faith in the Buddhas is the very greatness of the Buddhas. Therefore, sentient beings are equal to the jnans in their share in the acquisition of the qualities of the Buddha, but none of them are equal to the Buddhas, who are oceans of good qualities with endless portions. If even a minute good quality of those who are a unique collection of the essence of good qualities is found in someone, not even the three worlds will be enough to honor that one. Sentient beings have the best portion of emerging qualities of a Buddha. One should honor sentient beings in accordance with that share. Apart from respecting sentient beings, what other repayment to true friends, the immeasurable benefactors, is possible? One should render only service to those whose sake and they cut apart their bodies and enter the Avicii hell. Therefore one should treat people kindly even though they inflict great harm. Why do I generate pride and not act like a servant toward those masters whose sake my lords have no regret for their own selves? By pleasing those in whose happiness the lords of the sage find a delight, and in whose pain they experience grief, all the lords of sages are gratified, and to wrong them is to wrong the sages. Just as there is no mental pleasure in all sensual gratification whatsoever when one's body is on fire, likewise there is no way for the compassionate ones to be happy when sentient beings are in pain. Again, we don't have to take all of this literally if you find it difficult. For individuals or one could say for practitioners who knows or who has some sense that these are just motivational words. How to say, to be, well, not upset, maybe that's going maybe too far. We could say disappointed, you know. And that to be disappointed, I mean, often that's the most, how to say, appropriate word, just word, sort of like a civilized way of saying that deep down I'm angry, you know. But then we say that in a very civilized manner by saying, "Oh, I'm disappointed," you know. So, but all in all, at the end, it's the same, and so therefore, it's not really that we seek time to find a motivation to be disappointed, but because Madhu we are. I'm not saying we are, but it's just a way of. It's a manner of speech. Yes, that's all. So don't take it personally. So when we feel that I'm disappointed in someone, then if we sort of investigate, if there is a friend who asks, "So why are you disappointed?" Then if we explain it in length, if we sort of describe as if we are describing it to a sort of psychiatrist or to a best friend, then we can see that somehow you have to explain it in a way as if there is a motivation, to be disappointed. And therefore, just as when we read these verses, even though it's just, how to say, translation or the language itself, sounding maybe archaic or things like that, and therefore maybe not so pleasant in the ears. But if we examine the so-called history of why we are disappointed, yes, then we can see that that it has almost a complete history, as if there is a motivation, And then if you recognize that, then it gives quite a... then we will not feel that this is a very religious language. That as if I'm displeasing the Lord, who goes by the name of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so on. That instead, for the very fact that we feel disappointed is that either me or mine, yeah, or my friends, I'm not disappointed because it's not personal, but I'm disappointed because these friends are such and such, that as if they are like Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. We don't, of course, we're not naming them that way, but if we sort of really examine the emotions, it is without naming them, the stature we give to the so-called well, not to say my belonging, but to what is called mine, comes in that order, yeah. And therefore it becomes a reason, it becomes a cause, it becomes a motivation why I'm disappointed, why I want to, let's say, solve this issue, And so we justify it in that way. And yes, to serve justice, to bring clarification, to bring, if there is a seemingly sort of dispute or something, of course it's great, yes, to find ways to bring, bring them together, to bring clarity and all. Very innocently, that's how, how to say, our peace talks, negotiation, compromise, to make deals. For the very, very fact that we have a justice system, a judge, a lawyer, all those, very innocently, Innocently meaning not something childish, but with good intentions, With good intentions, we set up these systems. In terms of if it's to solve a great collective issue, then we create those systems because one individual cannot manage, yes. But if it's within families and friends and in smaller groups, then in this case we don't bother those systems, but then we become the advocate, we become the judge to see what is right and what is wrong. And so, of course, in terms of at least the intention is we cannot deny that the intention is good, But what Shantideva is saying is that if you have awareness, then you can spot between the lines, read between the lines. If there is a little, a little crack, that somewhere in between that there is a sense of anger, that although the action, it all seems perfect, beginning, middle, end, all seems kind of perfect on the surface, but at the core, if you examine, he's not saying there is, but if there is, if there is some tinge of anger for being disappointed, then how to say, well, just by recognizing it alone would be enough in a way. Yeah. And so then, in that sense, then we will see what kind of motivation we have. That we all seem to have our own version of what is right, what is wrong, and so that right, that right is as high as whatever spiritual background that we grew up from, you know, the most pristine state, you know. So even if we call ourselves Buddhist, that idea of what is right could be almost as equal to that of the the state of the Buddhas, without naming it. And then the opposite, what is wrong, you know, the furthermost, the greatest fault, let's say, or the greatest fall, then it is comparable to the idea of hell, without using the word hell, you know, or demon, you know, and so on. So you see, the emotion is very tricky. Very innocent, at the same time very tricky. And so therefore we need great awareness, and only through that awareness then we can spot them. If you just judge by the surface and look at it, everything seems fine, everything seems normal, as if there is world peace, you know, fair and loveliness and everything. But if one uses awareness, or through awareness, then one can spot these small things. Yeah. And they're not in any way evil, as I said, they are perfectly innocent, yet then it just doesn't match, you know. So, for example, if one paints, then if there is awareness, then you can spot those very, very small details, you know, that just sort of disrupts the flow of that particular painting. Just one small detail, you know. And so therefore, if there is awareness, then it's, then it's easier to manage it. So in here, it has really nothing to do with eradicating anger. It has nothing to do with demonizing the faults. It's just a way to become aware of them and then managing it. And so therefore, if these words sound too religious, it's just managing words, you know, that's it. So it's nothing to do with becoming holy and ritualistic and religious. Like, even from a worldly perspective, we think to ourselves that if I do this, it will not please, let's say, my family or friends, or in this case, my best friend, and so on. You know, in their eyes, it's not proper, and therefore I should not engage in these sort of thoughts or speech or actions, you know. So in the same way, it's just a method to think that, you know, the hosts of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will be disappointed if I give in to these emotions. That's all there is. There is no assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who has nothing to do but to just constantly there to sort of, you know, ready to say, you know, and then just imagine the refuge tree, yes, that we imagine. My goodness, as large as the universe, and then there are just myriads and myriads of Buddhas in all sort of in unison going, So that's just ridiculous, yeah. But if you get jumbled up, if you get mixed up in words, it can sound like that, and think that that is the practice of refuge, and then one can just be in the most, marvelous state, just as we say, having a real trip, yeah. That's a real trip. Whereas it's just a figure of speech and nothing more, actually, because it'll be a bore for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas if they have to watch at us from the so-called Pure Lands and so on, day in, day out, It just doesn't work like that. So, yesterday we got to a certain extent about basically understanding that without sentient beings, then, or without the so-called enemy, then there is no way for my practice of patience to progress, And so, from there, then if you just read through the verses, we will reach to the 111th, and basically leading to the point where that honoring sentient beings or respecting sentient beings is as good as respecting the Buddhas, It'll be, that idea would be very similar to thinking that sentient beings are, or ordinary sentient beings, or strangers, or the so-called enemy is our teacher. So then from 111, if you go downward, Shantideva, sheds more light or brings more clarity in terms of why it is appropriate or why it is beautiful and meaningful to think in that way on one hand, but at the same time we don't have to again mixed up in words and think that sentient being is Buddha, So, because if you think in that way, then again we make the grammar useless and then not be able to talk actually. So, the problem is with words. So, sentient beings or the so-called others are extremely helpful. And you see, if we sort of summarize this, or if we zoom out, let's say, and then view it as a whole, and then it will complement in terms of what is it, or what it is to be, or what it is to be a Bodhisattva, the idea of Bodhisattva. That's why why Bodhisattvas are praised from many ways, almost as if it's more important than the Buddhas, To become a Buddha is basically gaining awareness, simple as that, yes. But after that awareness, one could say, then what is the point, What is the point of gaining that awareness? I mean, that's again, it's sort of like a loophole of language or concept. But if you still continue with it, then we can say the whole reason or purpose to become fully aware is so that one can become a Bodhisattva. It sounds extremely weird, but we can kind of put it that way. Yeah. Because we are not really entering into nirvana and leaving behind samsara. It sounds like as if we are going somewhere else, But if there was that someplace else, it would be again very ridiculous. Whereas there is no somewhere else but here, exactly where we are. Whether we call this this or that, it's just this is it. And so therefore, to say that this is it in a very beautiful manner, then we use the word Bodhisattva activity, And so therefore, if this is it, then in here, if it feels like as if there is this emotion or anger rising here, or cause of anger rising here, or and then desire here, ignorance there, and so on. And so therefore, logically speaking, then it seems that this is not where I want to be, sort of thing, because it constantly forces us to deal with all of this. And so to again clarify that those ideas, then the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas found or uses the very same language we use, the very same concepts we use, and just turn it around slightly, Just give it a different angle, and that's all it is. And so that all these causes of anger and afflictive emotions, then suddenly we see them as great causes to blossom myself in a way, to blossom my qualities in a way. And it's not also just for my own sake, but for everyone, or one could say for here, and nowhere else. And so in that way, then there is no need of a real escape or a real, tangible liberation. But exactly where we are, we have everything we need, If patience is beautiful, if ethics is beautiful, if generosity is beautiful, if meditation is beautiful, if effort is beautiful, if wisdom is beautiful, we don't need to look for a pure land in order to acquire those, in some foreign land, but exactly where we are, we have all the causes and conditions in abundance, In a way, if the more time generates, the more fertile it becomes. And so therefore, this is exactly where I want to be, Then that's where then one sort of becomes comfortable and feel at ease of exactly where we are, and that we don't need to do anything really extraordinary. That's how I understood it so far. So then, to be more precise, then the reason why we should not be angry at sentient beings, and not just not be angry, just endure their faults, but furthermore, we can develop respect for them. We can develop appreciation towards them. You see, step by step, then to a point where we can even venerate them or respect them as good as respecting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I mean, now if you just don't use those words, and if you apply it in a very everyday manner, enduring the advices of friends, very simply. Enduring advices of friends, and trying to appreciate one's friends. I mean, at some point it will be very easy. I mean, it is already very easy, but just to accept their expertise, their care, their nurturing is obviously very easy to accept. There is hardly any kind of endurance or patience required, and so therefore, whereas the opposite of friends, the enemies, that they can really give, they can really help you put on muscles or put on strength, because from friends, as Shantideva said, it's impossible, almost impossible. I mean, friends or Pure Lands, same thing, in this case. That in that sanctuary, then, I mean, why? What good use is patience there? Because there is no challenge at all. But here, we have the enemy as a blessing in disguise to really help us become, I mean, it sounds strange to say, become strong in a way, if our idea is to become strong. And so, therefore, I mean, becoming strong or becoming mature or become awakened, if that's the result that we are seeking for, then sentient beings are equal in this case as the Buddhas. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we have to take refuge in them, that we have to prostrate to them or things like that. And that's what Shantideva is saying, that sentient beings help us accumulate immense merit, such as generosity, discipline, and in this case, patience. And so therefore, these qualities are extremely important if you want to become, or if you are seeking for the perfection of awareness. And so therefore, these are like jewels, and so therefore we have to respect them. And if it helps to think that if I don't respect them, then Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will become disappointed, so be it, because whatever works for that moment, that's it. Okay, in a similar way, like yesterday, do these, how to say, speak to you or make sense to you, these verses? And were there any particular places where you found it a little bit confusing? And if yes. Oh, Gina, oh yes. It's of course Sanskrit, and it has, although I don't know Sanskrit, but it has something to do with victory. A victory or having gone or something. It sounds weird, but basically it's just another word for Buddhas. Yeah. I think the translation in Tibetan is Gyalwa. You know, we use the word a lot. Yeah. So it means victorious. Yeah. It's just to, it's, like I said, it's just a decoration. It's just a decoration, yeah, of saying, of just naming. It's just a nickname. Yeah. It's just a nickname for Buddhas. Yeah. Because they have become victorious in terms of from the perspective of overcoming afflictive emotions, overcoming habitual pattern, overcoming obscurations. It almost seems like an impossible task, yeah. That it's a feat that no one can ever achieve, and so therefore they get that nickname. Oh, the one who did it, you know, or the one who went to that side. Yeah. And so therefore we call them victorious ones or jinnas. Yeah. The S is just, I think, plural. I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we should not get angry with our enemies and
Right.
with injustice in the world.
Mm.
But can or should we do something about it? I mean, not about the anger, but about the somebody steals or kills somebody or has, discriminate. What should we do about that?
Yes. Yeah, it's a very good question because that's how we give. I'm just answering directly here and there, okay? So therefore, my answers would be very clumsy, and therefore it could spark more emotions, you know. But I'm just answering just directly to that question. And so anger, as I said, sort of festers or grows in a very innocent way, you know, and that's how it begins. Yeah. So overall, that actual violence, you know, that very sort of sinister sort of state, that of course nobody wants. Yeah, nobody wants to see that. But how to say but how that sort of grows is very innocently grows, something like that. And so again, that by saying that we are not demonizing for the fact that we recognize that as if, okay, there is something going on, you know, this is weird, this is strange. We're not saying that we have to block that, you know, and shut that and then just have a blind eye or a deaf ear and so on. And so that's why the path is known as a path of simply observation, you know. meaning to observe things, you have to open your eyes, you have to open your ears, and particularly you have to open your heart, because sometimes it's a lot to take, more than eyes and ears. It's a lot to take sometimes. Yeah. If this strange occurrence is happening quite close, quite quite near, yeah, to the so-called mind, So mind can be based on because I'm rich, then my rich friends, or because I'm poor, my poor fellows, and or because of my color, because of the color of my skin, or because of my religion, or because of my language, so many things, it can become closer and closer, yeah. And therefore, then we don't know what to do, This I don't know what to do is coming from sort of basically not having observed enough, yeah. Sort of half open, half shut heart or eyes or ears, And so therefore one didn't have a complete perspective on or complete observation. And so therefore there are some informations missing in between. And therefore we feel, I don't know what to do now, And so therefore then it silently, very discreetly sort of aggregates or accumulates. And then one day when this strange occurrence becomes little too close, then it comes out, ow, sort of like, yeah. And just like self-defense, yeah, like animals, I mean, it is said there in which verse I forget that animals, if you don't harm them, they don't actually attack you, even if they are ferocious predators, tigers or lions or snakes or all these. Yeah, it's just they have very. I think yesterday I said thin concept, or limited concept, and so therefore they don't have a very good tool to be observant, and that's why they have to work with that very limited concept, and so therefore they cannot observe everything, and so it seems too close at some point, and then they jump on you, So yeah, observation or practice of awareness is the key in this case. So in here, we are not really, at the end of the day, pick something solid called patience, at the end of this session or at the end of this course, and go home and then, find out. There isn't. It's just we are being observant of, okay, there's a concept called patience. And that seems to emerge because of another component called anger, So you see, you're not taking any side, You're not taking side of the patience and demonizing anger. You're just trying to have a wholesome view that they are constantly like form and shadow, that they are always together. It's just that when there is a lack of awareness, then the only thing we can see till now is just that one particular side called anger, But we haven't seen that other side of the moon, or sort of, And so the observation will help us to see that, okay, there is another side to it, or at least it is related in a very intricate and amazing way to patience, It's like saying, if you look at medicine, at the end of the day, it's poison, yes. But poison put together in a very skillful way that we can call it medicine. So yes, when we form a society, and then we have to accept that whatever form of society, no matter how many great thinkers and bright minds and brilliant minds that we, put together, put all of their heads together and form the perfect society, there will never be one. Yeah. Why? Because it's just first of all, it's impossible, and then secondly, or mainly, it's just made to, the society has to be formed by thinking on one particular side. You can never have a wholesome view. It's impossible. Because, and that's why then, at the end of the day, the society will think of a particular rule or at best a guideline, but even that guideline is just arbitrarily accepted, agreed, because like I said, the criminal is actually gone, has become victorious, into yesterday, and so that same pattern of that very criminal today is actually a completely new one, yes. But the society structure is such that, you cannot say that, in a court. then how, the lawyers and the judges will have no job. And so, but the society has to go on, yes? And so therefore then they have to just roughly say, it's the same person, And then that's how the justice is sort of served. Yeah. So if the criminal is very smart, then one can, use those informations and get away. Or if the lawyer is good, then one can use those reasons, and to prove innocence. Yeah. But ultimately, it's impossible to serve justice, yeah, because roughly we can say it's gone, but if you become a little bit more precise, it's always going. The criminal is always going, slipping into the next hour, the next minute, the next second, the next moment, and so continuously, it's fresh. And so, therefore, it's impossible. Yeah. But society, meaning maybe some of us understand, or maybe you understand, or maybe I understand, but now within that society, maybe there are others, who doesn't understand that, but who feels very strongly that something needs to be done. And so therefore then you don't have much of a choice but to agree again that it is the same person, or it is the same situation, and therefore we are dealing with it, So if, the engineer that we call to fix the AC or the heater, yes, it's the same situation. Yeah. We think it's the same air conditioner that is getting fixed, and got fixed by the engineer, but actually it isn't. The one that was damaged is already gone. Yeah. Does it make sense? Yeah. Here, there. Yeah. I think. Oh, okay.
Tashi direkt Gyalwa Karmapa.
Where? I cannot see you. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. So, what does it really mean to be a bodhisattva? How could you lead others to happiness while you don't really know your own way, while you're at the beginning of your own path?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good way to put it. mm, I guess one could say that being observant is the meaning of being a bodhisattva, one could say it that way. I mean, one can sell it that way, you know. Or one can sell it in a way by saying that, by realizing that there is no way around anything, you know. There is no, I mean, just if you just connect it to what we just discussed, or what I just answered, that realizing that there is no way of serving justice, you know, one could sell it in that way, that knowing that is part of becoming a or part or is what it's like to be a bodhisattva in a way. Yeah. Again, just like how I said, the word, the Sanskrit word jinna is a nickname, yeah, for somebody who has woken up. In the same way, somebody who is, one could say, maybe somebody who's very emotional, you know, meaning that there is simply no way to save all sentient beings, you know. But yet, at the same time, this person is mad, completely sort of helpless, you know. That this person really is going out of his or her way to do the impossible. And sometimes we can describe that as a bodhisattva. Yeah. And maybe say that bodhisattva is somebody who comes back to samsara, you know. That's a very sort of generalized way of describing a bodhisattva. Of course, they don't really come back, you know. They actually go to a good place. I'm kidding. The thing is, there's not someone who really escapes or goes anywhere. If there is no justice to be served, then who is there to be proved either innocent or guilty? Yeah, and there is no one. Yeah, because it's constantly going, you know. So there is no real bodhisattva that we can really name and say, this is bodhisattva. Yeah. It's impossible. Because the very person who has maybe gained bhumi or realization or has even become enlightened, you know, it's not there. Because it's either going or it's already gone, you know. That's why we say, I think in Sanskrit, Tathagata, another nickname is Tathagata. Yeah. Because it's just not there. Yeah. And once again, it comes back to that idea of awareness, that when one becomes aware of that, then one relaxes in a way. Yeah. One relaxes that that there is no mission. Yeah. But if there is a group of bodhisattvas, they themselves would have no point of naming each other by praising each other, saying, "Oh, you bodhisattva," and so on, you know. the term Bodhisattva is applied from our side. Yeah. Just like how we want to name someone a criminal, or a bandit, We just roughly think that that particular pattern is it. And so therefore we call that person, or we name that person as such and such, And in the same way, we also name that very individual who seems to have a pattern of being kind, being generous, being so foolish, to help everyone, even though people cannot be helped. And so we give the name Bodhisattva. Yeah. It's something like that. I don't know if I did a good job of answering your question. Okay. Yeah.
Hi. Touching in the previous point about that the wrongdoer or the enemy did something bad and is no longer the same person. It's already moved away or it's in a new stage. But what about if the whole point of doing something is about preventing the wrongdoer to commit something similar to the past? So in how to approach that? Because I think it's probably the logic that the whole law system is built upon.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. As a society, we have no other way. Yeah. So we kind of have to either graciously accept the judgment or find a very good lawyer, who understands a bit of Buddhism, so that the jury would be, persuaded. Yeah, it's a very good question. How come that they repeat, or they seem to repeat, and fall into another destructive pattern? And I think probably it is safe to say that it is due to the sentencing, I think. There is no other way to say it. It's due to the sentencing or due to the justice that is being served from a social point of view that causes the very criminal or the so-called criminal to repeat again. Because I think I touched that a little bit yesterday, because that person who gets the justice or blame or whatever, is also innocent in a way that when the sentence is given, that person feels confused also, and because it's confused, then it tries to find that actually I'm not guilty, But that person doesn't know how to say, actually, yesterday's me is gone. And so he or she uses a very clumsy language by saying, I'm not guilty. But that's not sophisticated enough. And so therefore, But otherwise, that confirmation that what I did wrong yesterday, or what I did yesterday, that person is still the same person, me, It is confirmed by the justice that is being served on me. It confirms, Then, therefore, I believe that I'm the same person. That I'm not. That this is just a fresh, fresh manifestation. That space or room to think of that is gone. And so therefore it confirms to me that I'm the same person. And if I'm the same person, then, I could do the same thing, because This is who I am. This is what I do, you know. This is what I'm good at. and then, we repeat it again. Yeah. But if there is someone who's very skillful, then there is a possibility that if not to become realized or awakened, at least to linger in the confusion for a while, at least, you know. Yeah. I don't know if that made sense. The mic is behind you.
But also from the other side of we as Buddhist practitioners, how to have a clear mind in order to judge a situation in which we do something to prevent.
Yeah. Yeah, this is exactly what Shantideva was saying. And that we will find millions of reasons at the end to have a judgment, you know. And it's not a bad thing, you know, but you see, we will always find a higher ground, you know. We will always find a more sort of, almost like a spiritual ground, you know, that, you know, this place, from this angle, then what to do. Yeah, so for that, the answer is pretty much the same, that we can just roughly agree that there are things to do which can prevent, you know, maybe remove or keep distance, remove the source of addiction, and this and that, you know. But it's not completely wholesome, you know, those methods. It's just sort of temporary. It doesn't really deal with the core. Yeah. But they are great, you know. There are lots of you know, conventions like that. Yes. Counseling groups, and how to say, strategies also. Blow up the fuel tank. You know, tons of things, yeah. But it doesn't deal with the core, yeah. Or someone, or how to say, remove their sticks, or yeah, many things can be done, yes. And it goes, maybe some of them goes quite far, yeah, but not far enough in a way. So at the end of the day, it really comes down to just how to say, becoming more and more aware that how one thing leads to another. Yeah. And yeah, now in terms of prevention, maybe the best one can say is the chapter of calm abiding and mindfulness from this particular text. Yeah. And yeah, we can relate this to Dharma activity. Yeah. The Dharma activity is nothing really grand, you know, or the activity of prevention is nothing really grand. It's nothing supernatural. That at the end of the day is having, on one hand, being mindful or having awareness, and on the other hand, if I say having discipline, maybe it doesn't sound too good, maybe, you know. But it's like, how do you say? That one doesn't get maybe too excited. Yeah. Maybe that's one way of saying. Yeah. There can be many forms of preventions, or there can be many activities, you know. Activities, what is a Dharma activity, as such as being charitable, being extremely disciplined, being able to tolerate a lot, in this case patience, you know, patience itself. Yeah. But if you get too excited in those practices, then that's no activity. So lack of excitement in a way, meaning that doing it, as I said, just because we enjoy it, you know, just because being generous is enjoyable. Enjoyable for now because you feel that it's productive, it was a productive day, that you were able to help someone who was in need, or being disciplined, and that because of my discipline I was able to fold my shirts in a nice way, you know, and not just toss them up, you know, from the washing machine and just toss it on, you know, on the bed or something like that, you know. That itself is discipline, yeah. And so, in that way, I think, military discipline is really nice when it comes to having a neat room. They're great in on those, you know, mundane things. So discipline like that, you know, you do it temporarily. It's also enjoyable because it's neat, it's clean, it's pleasant, presentable. But also, in terms of at the core, how to say, it's peaceful, you know, because you have spent that moment in such a way that from once you reach to the other side, meaning the next moment, from there, if you happen to look back, there is not a thing you would change, you know. Meaning, basically, there is no regret. And so, disciplined in that way, or calm abiding in that way, you know. So that it's the most basic things, simple things, mundane things that we do, and through that practice alone, there is a sense of enjoyment or completeness, and that is activity, you know. That is the Dharma activity in a way. Because beyond that, there really isn't anything, you know, special. Yes, we like to decorate them by saying that such and such a monument is representing something, like the statues we have behind, you know, that this symbolizes something, and then we prostrate towards it and so on. At the end of the day, we prostrate towards it simply for the fact that it's a wonderful way for the body, because it's kind of an exercise, and it's also really nice to the mind because it's a method to let go of ego, you know. Then that was it, and one has had a hell of a time, you know. Wonderful time. And then that is the activity, yes. But beyond that, there is nothing. There is no sort of, this statue doesn't represent anything godly or presidential or kingly, yeah. And so, in that sense. So you see, it's a very indirect prevention, you know. But there is no real direct prevention. I mean, when we think of prevention, we are thinking more of a comic, you know, like superheroes and villains. You know. We like to think that, and that's why I said about Lord of the Rings, that it would be nice to have enemies like orcs, you know. But then, even in the books or even in the featured film, you can see that they seem to get sometimes frightened, or sometimes they are thirsty, or sometimes they are hungry. Yes, that's when again it's you feel like as if there is a core in there. Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, there is no real heroic prevention, I think, really. Yeah. I mean, I wish there was. I think everyone would, in some ways, wish that there was. But sadly, there isn't. Yeah. Yes, there, I think.
Karmapa?
Oh.
Yeah, Gyalwa Karmapa?
Yes. Okay, sorry.
These teachings on bodhicitta are very powerful and inspiring, and I guess everyone here wants to be a great bodhisattva. So maybe it would be possible that we do a bodhisattva promise together.
Day after we are doing it, yeah. But well, I shouldn't say but. It would be interesting to view the Bodhisattva vows not really like a contract or yeah, we use the word promise or vow or commitment. Maybe each has their own excellence, you know. But it's not exactly a vow or a commitment or a promise, at the end. Yeah. It's just a change of perspective, sort of being skillful and channeling one's perspective, because if it is like a contract or if it is an actual promise, then rules are meant to be broken, promises are meant to be I don't know what is the saying, but yeah, you know. And so therefore, it doesn't go very far, I think. Yeah. So I'm not. I didn't say but. So therefore, you know, I'm not negating anything. But that's something I think very essential to keep in mind. I think. Yeah. Yes, we use the word for that in Tibetan, for the vow or promise. We use the word domba, you know, and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, when they use a word, they think through in using those words, and therefore, obviously, it has both, we could say, blessing and great depth. But personally, this is just my own personal emotion, that I think if you can view the idea of promise or vow or commitment more as a liberating factor, meaning it's sort of like an unbinding factor, you know. I think maybe it could be interesting, it could be appropriate, yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's not really saying now, you know, now we become a Bodhisattva, you know. As if before we were a wild bunch or something like that. And now we become pacified, you know, sterilized and and so on, or sanitized, you know. It really doesn't have much to do with that, I think. Yeah. No matter how much we sanitize, at the end of the day, it's like vacuuming the carpet, you know. If you vacuum the carpet too much, at the end you don't have a carpet. So, yeah. Yeah, so it's we're not really changing anything. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we're not changing anything. It's just everything gets renewed by itself, you know, constantly. Whether there is religion or spirituality or philosophy or politics or economy or anything. The fact is, everything gets renewed by itself all the time, and we can observe that through so many lenses. And so therefore, we don't have to add anything, add an extra change, you know. And so therefore, these vows, which at the end of the day is just a practice, yeah, it's not a real vow, it's just a practice. Through these practices, then we become aware, and we become aware of, as I said earlier, the changes that's happening, you know, this renewal that is happening by itself constantly. And then we are just happy, we just rejoice that, oh my goodness, it was always happening this way. Looks like I don't need to put any kind of effort. So therefore, you know, you be at ease by simply becoming aware of that, you know. And that's all it is, yeah. Yes, that doesn't mean that, because of course we have to be again to the point and practical, yes. So yes, there are certain words to say, there are certain procedures, there are certain practices that we do by saying, okay, now I'm a Buddhist, now I'm a Bodhisattva, now I'm this, now I'm that. It's not that they are completely, you know, void of meaning, and it's just completely just unnecessary. They have their own places. They have their own places just as how do I which yeah, saying the truth, but by saying the truth in a very nice way, you know, or giving the information by giving the information in a nice way, in a manner of poise, in a manner of grace, you know, doing something graceful. It's nice, yeah. When the painter or the baker or the cook, when they do things gracefully, whether it's chopping or cooking or sautéing, when they do it gracefully, that gracefulness is not going to actually make the food better, you know. But at the same time, that aesthetic goes a long way, yes? That presentation goes a long way. Yeah, I think that's the word I was looking for, presentation. The presentation goes a long way, yeah. And so all of these procedures are kind of like presentation, yes. And so therefore, there is, in a way, a practical meaning to it, yeah, to go through these processes. So that will happen the day after tomorrow. Yes. Then. Yes. Oh, sorry, Daniel. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Holiness, thank you so much again for your teachings.
Thank you.
You always make everything sound so simple.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
you make it sound so light.
Okay.
And I'm trying to put this together in my mind in a way that makes sense. I really hope these questions are useful for everyone, because I actually have 6 questions.
Oh.
I can try to put them in yes-no manner.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
We have been talking about justice a lot,
Okay.
because I think justice in a Western society has a very different meaning or different understanding because of different concepts than in Eastern society.
Yeah.
To cut a long story short, could we say there is no need for justice because the phenomena arising and karma arising and manifesting is justice in itself?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. When you say about anger, it's enough to just recognize it. You said that a couple of times. And sometimes we have that in therapeutic settings, or also when people do constellation work or have traumas, when the trauma is seen or when the other person is seen and there's something like, I see you, like in the avatar, I see you. That the trauma dissipates, it dissolves. And when you say it's enough to recognize anger, is that something like then it's self-liberating? If we have the awareness, we see the emotion arising, it is there, we see it, aha, and then it goes. Is that what is meant with self-liberation or self-liberating?
I would have to say yes. Yes.
Okay. You say taking refuge or having a root lama, but ultimately there is no root lama. These are all just skillful means,
Right.
or practicing Chenrezi.
Yes.
These are all just skillful means
Yes.
to open our heart.
Yes.
And when we open our heart, we forget about ourselves. And then we become liberated. Is that what it's all about?
Yes.
So there's actually nothing really there. But still, I guess all of us here in your presence, or when we go to holy places or something like that, we do perceive something, we feel blessing. Sometimes we get very emotional. What is this blessing that we feel? Is this like a sense of, this is maybe really stupid, but I'm going to say it. Is this like a sense of the Dharmakaya, like a notion that opens us and we feel it and then it's gone again? Or what is this blessing thing that we feel? Sorry, is that a sense of the Dharmakaya, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, when you say that this is to give all of us hope who do not have the components or conditions but a strong yearning to maybe have the ability to go into retreats for a long time, but we have families or whatever. We have small children and we're already old. So you say Shantideva or the preliminaries or the practices that we do are not minor practices. If we continuously, is there a hope for us? If we continuously, really continuously apply these methods, do things like, this morning Khenpo Shenpen says, when you open the door, when you close the door, or other Lama says, when you take the shower, all of this, if we really manage to continuously do that, and just take our daily life as a retreat, do we actually have a chance for liberation? Because from the relative side or the relative perception which I have, it seems like, all these great stories of Gendun Rinpoche or the Karmapas, Tilopa, it seems sometimes so unattainable to get there. Do we have a chance?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Finally, last question or two questions. You say, if there is nothing that really exists and if there's also nowhere else to go to experience the Dharmakaya, does that actually mean that, and you've been talking a lot about the stories and the history also yesterday when we talked about habitual patterns, if we just alter the story and if we just manage to change our perception, like Shantideva says, your enemy is not your enemy, he's your best friend, he's your teacher. If we truly manage to change our perception, actually everything becomes the Dharmakaya. Actually we reach liberation.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So, is it a bit like, I know you like to watch movies, I don't know if you have seen them, that one, but it's a favorite one for me and my two boys, Kung Fu Panda. Have you seen it?
Yes.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yes.
So all of them. Kung Fu Panda 1. There's the baddie one, and my little son always, he doesn't say villain or criminal, he says baddie one, and it's a really bad one. It says one. The more he says one, the more malicious the criminal is. But Kung Fu Panda gets the secret scroll. And he gets the secret scroll and he's very disappointed because there's nothing there. And then his father gives him the secret ingredient of his noodles soup. And he finally realizes there is no secret ingredient. Is this actually a really wonderful metaphor for what we're doing here?
Yes, it's a wonderful metaphor, yes. Yes.
Okay. I am going to be very bold now, Your Holiness. But this thought came up when we practiced Mönlam in Prague with Sabja Rinpoche, and we did the King of Aspiration prayers. And I thought, when you go to Kibi, you're going to do this, and now I'm going to be so bold. I do not know if the components are right and if it is going to be really helpful for everyone here to develop bodhicitta, but if it is, would you grant us the enormous honor? Would you grant us the enormous honor of practicing the King of Aspiration prayers with us?
Yes, of course. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, from Kung Fu Panda, of course, I think no one can ignore those parts, yeah? The empty scroll and this, they having no secret ingredient. Another favorite part of mine was actually when Kung Fu Panda asks the Master Turtle, so if this is the spirit realm or something, then can one go back? And then the Master Turtle says, I don't know, I haven't tried, you know. And to me that was also another great moment, yeah. It's being then that sincere, you know, from both sides. One just asking a very sincere question, and the other one also answering a very sincere answer. Yeah. I don't know, I just wanted to share that. Yes.
I have a question from yesterday. So is it okay now, or maybe keep it for later?
Now?
Okay. We were talking about the composition of components.
Yes.
And I was thinking a little bit about it, and I wanted to ask if it is a random composition, or if there is a pattern, or there is a kind of logic, or is it like random?
Yeah, I think when it comes to painting, some artists just sort of paint something just randomly, yes, and then whatever seems to suggest, then they accentuate that. Yeah. And some, they have a sort of an idea, and then they have a plan in a way. They have an objective, and then they paint. Both are fascinating, you know. And so therefore, how to say, it's really difficult to say whether there is actual, whether the way to go about things is how to say, or should be approached in a random way or in an orderly way, you know. It's impossible, yeah. Just like two of the most opposite, you know, what seems like, you know, two opposite ends or extremes, but somehow they find a way that actually, that there is sort of like as if there's connectivity, you know, and that that there is interdependency, one could say. Yeah. Like in this case, anger and patience. Yeah. So we can say maybe anger is randomness, and the other patience is sort of like a well thought out plan, you know. But either way, there seems to be like, basically you just cannot separate them, whether there is connectivity or not. You just cannot separate them. So in the same way, we really don't know which comes first, chicken or the egg sort of thing, We really cannot. But by focusing on one, it will automatically suggest the other. Yeah. There is that there is guarantee. It's a matter of time, one could say. Meaning, if one really wishes to practice patience, then it will automatically lead in one way or another to anger. Yeah. That you cannot just hide anger somewhere and develop something independent called patience. Yeah. It's impossible. And as I said yesterday concerning that, then that is just one level of zooming, one level of viewing. Then either we magnify, or if we step back, then we will also see that whether we call patience and anger components, then if they are, then each of them would have so many subdivisions, and so it's just limitless. Yeah, the more you zoom in, you will find another thing, another thing, another thing. That's why it is said that for practical reasons, these 6 perfections or paramitas, starting from generosity all the way to wisdom, it's just roughly, it's been labeled like that, categorized like that, numbered like that, as having 6 components to become a Bodhisattva. But just to develop patience itself, actually you need all the others also. Yeah. So therefore all the other 5 perfections are also its components. Yeah. But there is no way of saying, well, are they random or not? Yeah. But it's a matter of taste. Yeah. Well, we've come to the meditation now, and so all questioning privileges are cancelled. And then the meditation. I know that in the past few days, many of you have asked for lungs of various practices, and also today you had also wished to do the King of Aspiration prayers and to do the practice of Bodhisattva vow. And we will all do that. One thing that I also wanted to say, because it's on one hand I might be sort of contradicting what the traditional Buddha Dharma is suggesting, advising, and guiding, as if I am one rascal or a naughty person just saying nonsense. It's just, on one hand, I was hoping that it will create some fun moments. So it's kind of like more for entertainment sort of thing. But at the same time, I must say that just like, as I said, the importance of presentation, and the importance of the aesthetics, in the same way, all of these meditations, prayers, chantings, melodies, rituals, it's not just the ones that we do here, but that exists in various formats, Like in Theravada, they have their own way of chanting, meditating, and so on. And in the similar way, all the various different traditions have their own. They are not completely also garbage or meaningless. That's something we also have to keep in mind. Yeah. Otherwise, there would be no need for the cook to make a nice presentation. Just cook the fuel and just deliver it. Or like vitamin pills. And almost becoming mechanical, just because I said all of these are made up. So that's another thing to also to consider, because in that sense, then being born as an animal is more practical. Yeah, they don't need to cook, They just, they just munch, yeah. And even for the gods, it's also different. Whereas it's us, the humans, that for some reason we cannot explain it. Really, there is no way we can explain it. But we seems to be the only ones who likes to do very interesting things, So. Not just a plate, but then a colorful plate with various paintings, or I don't know what's the perfect term. Huh? Pattern, yes. That the various patterns on the plates and cups and so on. Basically, this Zen thing called tea ceremony sort of thing, yeah. Like that, we have various ceremonies for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, and so on. So, but the basic idea of obviously is to kind of, if you simplify it, it's like saying to refuel, to recharge. But then if you put it that way, then it becomes very mechanic and lifeless and not enjoyable, But therefore, for some reason, we like to do those things. So in the same way, in this case, it seems like just don't be angry, have patience, just endure, just tolerate. But we are not exactly that, on and off switch, yes. We like to do it in a very intricate way. And so therefore, we have these countless and countless of methods, in the form of recitation, in the form of meditation, in the form of chanting, and so on. And so therefore, these are also things we really have to observe first, and then through observation, then we will come to appreciate also. Yeah. Just like a good presentation or a ceremony. And so, in that manner, then we think of, for example, we start this by thinking of the Vajradhara, and then the all of the lineage masters and so on. Yeah. So it's not sort of so this is also done just for the, one could say, for the sake of that beauty. Yeah. It's not for the lineage. We are not doing this for the lineage. We are not doing to preserve the lineage as if it's a part of the WWF, like like the pandas and so on. But also on the other hand, it has nothing to do with nothing really to do with, remembering our ancestors, It's just very simply a way to have a wonderful time, to recall that, the Vajradhara is just a symbol, yes, symbol of happiness. And then the rest of the lineage masters are those who found that happiness in a way, or not exactly found, but who gained awareness so that they had a wonderful time. And so therefore we are just only thinking of that, And if you like to think of that as a transmission, if you like to think of it as a succession in the form, of teacher and student, then so be it. Yeah. But beside that, it has no real, how to say, some supernatural torch that is being passed on, and now we have to carry, and we have to find someone. Where are you? I have to give you initiation, and so on. It's definitely not like that, yeah. So, yeah. And I thought that is also important to be aware of.
lo dan da wa ra chen je lo nam do ngoi woi che gu rai so ba yin jire yan ma yin jire yan cha ra wa la ma ga ro ba cha ve gom che la ko rai de yere me do ba rai chen je lo ke wa ge do ya dai lai ma da la me je je pa lai lo je sa da lai je yan de ra zo ne do ra je ba nhờ đôi rồi san je je đôi rồi je cho nói lại san je para đôi đôi ne ya rồi je đôi je gom de je be ze nam je đô lôi ven je san je đô para sho san je che da zo je cho nam la san je para do da ne ja so je da je gom de ge be ze nam je do loi ven je san je do para sho san je che da zo je cho na la cha je para kya zo je da je gom de je be ze nam je do loi ven je san je do para jo da zo ga ja ba sem je je do be ga ra da ve de re le ba jo je re ze ga ra za lai ve zre nga den cho je zum do je je ze cho je dan bo da la ja ra je wo ne je de be ga ra nam tor do re je je de re da ba be de yo so lo o bo me be wo je je shan de do je do jo zhe men da wa ra ja de bo kyan ne gen de wo wo jo ra cho wo chen je ma ge gan da ka ra zo za je je la jen to je je do la ze che re ze la cha za lo cho wo je mo gu gon do kar zo za je la jen to je do la ze che re ze la cha za lo cho wo je mo gu gon do kar la jen to je do la ze che re ze la cha za lo pa wa je re ze wa da 초주 되서 쇼바예 Gyalwa seje tamje la mene ve chaza lo medo dobe maramenche shalaze ro mo la soba Wanjara yeje chulane boloi Pabe tsoye shezo zoloi Toma mene tade parar Meje juda tsame nga Semne nyamoy wanjara be Degboy tamje shabaraje Nyende ranjoy janjoy zem Sozoy jevoy lazoy ba Tezom gev Sunamay lane daye ray Semje namje sambaya Loye chedra cheda war Chejon tumoy tebaye Cheje koroloy korodo zoloy Korowa jeze madoy war Nyanye medai tojeye Dongan jazu Semje namla se so zolo daje ze namay che ba tamje chanjo jara jara ne rembo me do java ye jembe balay do da jara je te dara je solay dai be pabe kule vesere chu ma da le nong chui she ja chene de wa chen je jeng nan je jen le nga sem Tereze vai kuzondoi Nanda redoi yereme jarai Vai mane beme vai mane beme vai mane beme vai mane beme Oy mane beme hoy 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 oy mane beme Oy mane beme Oy man beme Oy mane beme Oy mane beme Oy mane beme Oy mane beme Moi da je le noi ba be go da da ye je cho be yang zhen da ye je chen bo loi ye wan de ye nyo do da che re ze wan do jo ne do wa je jo ma le ba te ye za la ge ba jo te da ra ngon de je be ze na de da da la je do jo wa gu me za le de bo wa je ma da de wa jen de je wa jo ke ma da de za je ra je ne cho le be jo jo jen de je ba sho ke wa de ye ke wo ngo so no ye je co zo de so no ye je le jo ve ton bo go ne to ba ra sho ho mo ma da ne je dong ba ra jang dong be nga le ye se je de je de ne do to ba ra jang ai de ze nga lo me go ve dam ze be de ze ra ba ve ne de ye je de ze chen dang ne ye re me wam da ai fong che lai de ro cho men jo ro za ju la ma ye da la zo da ba wo kan zhe che jo cho je dang den je nam go zhe she de ba ra ju ro ye da quan de za ve la ma che quan che quan de za ve la ma che che jong quan de za ve la ma che ke ba ra je jo be re je na za che ne ba la de la ma rang jo in ja la mo ne che jama gro do che ba che ba ra che ja la bo na ma te ze nga ge da do ro je le ba se ge chen jong thai ga ra na do ro je ja la bo la so be karama ba ye de ba chong na lai sa me shang ai de ze nga choi che toro ma za je be za am re da za ye ra da yen ja ba che pra she de ye nga da sa ve che ba thai te ko na ye kun za che be che ke je je da yen de zo ba de ne chul je je to be go son je de ba ma le ba ye de ba ra che che la de zo la ba ta ba ne da zo ge lai cho da de mo che ngoi zhe de do de la cho lo wa ta ke ba ra ze re ne me ba la jo ro je ye la sam ze ge je zam ye la drum ne gra ma ba ye she ba kun da je mal nyor do dro ba thang karama ba ye te la ne namai daji thalawai shendu lobai nubai dodoi nidu zalaidu soloi te dara chöde tebe jewaide Majra java semje damje kuna zob sanje kubain tol chere ngo yamavai nganzara sanje nawa taye da yezu chavai doje jemba tang Yenda zembai doje domna lai zanje janze pame koroje koro deje ngoza badu meba ye deva jeje jave shengam dere da shen dene zebe jurama da jeva shen Paramai Chabaro Teroi Jene Nande Jadon Joy De Da Jemelanda Bade Chojo Sanje Janzen Dam Je Medrup Lad Sol Teya Da Benja Teya Avai Bodha Na Yeso Hai Chode Gyalwa Seje Goi Choni Zola Je Rang Da Shen De Zoi Je Zai Bai Kun Joi Sun Lai Che Bambul Jalave Dembai Bejo Je Wa Sem Je Gulango Droga Zoi Je Do Juro Je Za Tam Je Che Du De Da Shen Je Lai Men Juro Je Jem Ne Tan Ne Cho Zo De Sere ne me nyam do pele che de sa ju ne joro je nam she che be de wa chen de je joro je ke ne be mo ka je de le de la san je jo Chanja damne jeze do drebe drova jambara joy sanande ye tamje sebanye tonne nye be dana pamje Kega na che ba la vai cho ba ye se be cho